Hey everybody.
Hi, everyone.
My wife is always smiling. Isn't you always smiling? Anyway, we went to dinner at
Vecinos in
Vecinos.
Silver Springs, Maryland. Awesome restaurant.
My whole diet just fell apart. It was ugly. It was ugly, but I'm back on track tomorrow. It's just really because of Lyme's disease and just not supposed to eat, pasta and stuff. But how do you go to an Italian restaurant and not eat pasta?
Right.
Anyhow, so we had a great day. I would call it a great day.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great tour of the Capitol. We had a private tour.
Yeah.
Went into the chambers where they, hold the State of the Union, and I sat and I'm not gonna say it. I'm just not gonna say it. Anyway,
Let's just say we sat on the right
I was-
side of the chambers.
anyhow,
Ah.
so we had a great day.
But it was very cool because we got VIP. We had a VIP tour. We were the only ones on the floor. Everybody else was up in the galley, wondering who are these people down there.
And why are they down here and we're up there?
Right. Right.
It's all about who you know. Anyway, we met with Jason Cervenak, who is.
What happened to our light? Did you see?
I don't know, but it looks fine.
Okay, that's weird.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know.
Anyway, we met with Jason Cervenak, who is a staffer for the Congressional Judiciary Committee. Talked to him about inmate development and reform, prison reform. We had a great conversation, and it's really about beginning a relationship. And he asked me to look over some things in the First Step Back that he wants my feedback on. And he's been working on this for like 3 years. Him and Congressman Collins, is that his name, Heidi?
Yes, Doug Collins.
Doug Collins. And I mean, look, some things are really frustrating because you say, and anybody who knows anything when it comes to success in recovery, success in terms of recidivism, with people who are leaving prison, everybody knows that faith-based approaches have a much, much higher success rate. And I asked him, well, what about the faith-based approach? Well, faith-based is allowed to go in, like we can go in on our own dime and minister, and that's not a problem. But the state funding something that works, that's a problem because people are offended by that, right? So it's just hard to wrap my brain around some of the things that I see. If a faith-based approach is what works, then are we willing to sacrifice sons and daughters, fathers and mothers, because somebody's offended by a particular belief system? Um, I don't know. So I find it very frustrating
Mm.
when I see, you know, as I described this morning in the video, that this has to be like inmate reform has to be looked at in terms of the potential of the human being, that untapped talent and ability, and that's where I came from. And Jason was very, very receptive. He was very, very engaged. I was happy with the meeting, and I'm going to be happy to kind of enter into this longer term relationship with him. I didn't have an opportunity to talk about my thoughts about recovery and reform as it related to that, and I specifically spoke to him about my proposal and the life building agenda with personal development initiatives, and I also talked about removing parole and in certain instances, and he was receptive. But the problem is not that he might not want to do those things or that they hadn't thought of those things.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is people are fighting against him
Mm-hmm.
and not for these things. So it's very difficult battle.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him that I could be a resource for him if he wanted to discuss anything in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I have some ideas that I'm going to get back with Courtney tomorrow. Courtney Fellows,
Mm-hmm.
Congressman Smith's office. And then tomorrow I'm meeting with Congressman Smith about human right violations in prison,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea that the Constitution, it doesn't just protect Heidi and I and you and your family because you're not in prison. Everyone, every American citizen, whether they're in prison or they're not in prison, is entitled to protection under the United States Constitution, and nowhere can I think of is protection less afforded than in America's prisons, where the violence and the sexual exploitation that goes on in there, and not only by inmates but by staff,
Mm-hmm.
on a major scale, is preventable. And that's one of the things I'm going to speak to him about tomorrow. So we're very excited about that. But we had a
Mm-hmm.
good day, and we want to
Mm-hmm.
say thank you to everyone, who was praying for us, who was saying, "Way to go, Mike and Heidi." We're going to see where all this takes us.
Yeah.
But you just put one foot in front of the other,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, you do what you feel. What we do, we feel the Lord's calling us to do.
So here's a couple of cool things. So every day we always pray for divine appointments and divine conversations. So it's just interesting how God directs your steps. You just don't know how, you make one decision and what does that decision lead you to. So when we were trying to get back to our car because the weather is so cold and rainy and everything like that, we decided to try and go down the underground tunnel of the Capitol and the Rayburn House. There's like three buildings that are part of the Congress. And so we were like, okay, so let's walk down this way. I noticed in the elevator that, there was a stop that said the tunnel. So we went that way. And then I stopped and asked some random girl, how do I get to one place? So she took us to a certain spot. And then she said, okay, now then you go here and go to the elevator. So we get to the elevator, and there are these two men in there, and we strike up a conversation with them. And it turns out that one of these guys, his wife, works for a couple that are involved in prison and
Reform,
prison
yeah.
reform. And then the guy next to him, I don't know, Mike started talking to him.
Alan.
And so we ended up exchanging information, and we're going to get in touch with them and that couple that we're talking about. And they were from Georgia, right? Weren't they also from Georgia?
I don't recall.
Yeah,
By that time, I was pretty tired.
right. So, I mean, it was just like the odds of us getting onto this elevator with these two gentlemen, and then it turns out that the one guy's wife works with a couple that are just completely dedicated to prison reform, was just like mind boggling. And then we get back to this hotel, which is the Holiday Inn Express at Silver Springs, and just started talking to the woman behind the desk. And she was extremely friendly, extremely helpful. They even took us to our restaurant and picked us
Right.
back up again.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. And
Yeah.
so we just, we're talking to her after dinner, and she just
Give
mentioned,
much information.
I'm not,
Okay.
she mentioned that she was involved in Bible study. And I bet you're all wondering what he was whispering in my ear. So, anyway, we ended up giving her Mike's book. And so she has somebody that she wants us to send the book to. And
But
so
also
we're going
works
to
in
do
the
that.
bookstore.
And she's going to start working as part of her ministry. She's going to start working for her bookstore at her church. So we made sure, and they have a prison ministry at their church. So we gave them information, Mike's information. So, God just kind of connects all the dots. And
And today was really about building relationships and starting a process.
Yep.
And it feels good to at least believe that we're going to have a voice in some of this stuff. And I'm really excited about tomorrow, because I can't even imagine. My first question to Congressman Christopher Smith, is going to be, has anybody ever approached him with legislation or a request for him to legislate regarding human right violations in prison? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. So we'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, that's it. That's it. We're grateful for everybody. We know people are praying for us,
Yes.
and we know people are pulling for us, and we'll see where all this goes.
Yep. Thanks for your comments.
Take care. Have
Love
a
you
good
guys.
night. I'm not going to tell you what I whispered in her ear.